for me, it's really important that we are empowering ourselves and the horse to have self-carriage, to have softness, to be in balance, and have a healthy system. And so often trauma gets held in our cells within our bodies, and that can then kind of create blockages, and blockages of energy will cause the horse to have, you know, stiffness, or they'll disconnect from that part of their body and perhaps not be able to kind of use that part of themselves as well as we know they could do if it was functioning at full kind of health. So again, for me, some of the crystals can be great cleansers at clearing energies, at holding space for them physically. It can invite them. Again, I'll often use them perhaps alongside essential oils, because they can, as kind of a togetherness, they can really help open the horse and help kind of just like, let's remove and then put goodness back in. It's not just always about removing energy with a cleanse. It's also putting the goodness and the sweetness back into a spot that perhaps if they've had an injury there or an operation there, like us, they'll get so disconnected from that part of their body, or we can disassociate from a part of our body, that the energy of a crystal, you know, if someone's you know, perhaps had a traumatic birth, they can then feel so disconnected from their womb that maybe holding a rose quartz on your, above your womb or on your womb as you meditate, or even just lying really mindfully, the energy of the rose quartz can just start to, you know, just ignite back into kind of your sacral chakras. And that's the same for the horse, of using crystals to kind of like get the cells to awaken again and help us get back to our kind of full power. And for me, soul level, or working on with the animals or humans on a soul level, I think is what really speaks to my heart, because I think we can get horses to connect quite easy through, you know, you can have a physical connection. You know, a supple horse can feel very connected because supplely they'll be soft and moving, you know, in harmony with us. But that soul part of a horse, that when you see that horse for their purest, highest self, and then when you've got a human that's also doing that work of, you know, their shadow work and connecting to themselves on a really deep soul level, again, I think our crystals just empower us in that. And equally, they can bring us protection, because sometimes when we're opening ourselves up to that, we're also going to need to make sure we're kind of protecting our energy fields, protecting ourselves. And sometimes our horses, one of my horses is an incredible healer, but equally I have to make sure she doesn't take on too much, because she, bless her, she wants to heal anyone that kind of walks through my yard gate, which is wonderful. But then equally, I need to make sure she doesn't take on the weight of the world on her shoulders. So she has a crystal grid in her stable that just offers her a little bit of protection, that the crystals can do a bit of the work for her. They can kind of remove any negative energies that she's wanting to, because her soul is so beautiful of offering healing, but it just means that I can help protect her space a little bit. So that's a little bit about me and what I'd love to share with you guys today. So let's see if it's going to let me click onto the next slide. There we go. So I thought I'll strip it back and go through kind of just understanding what kind of crystals are, to those that are either really new to kind of exploring this. For some of you that have perhaps sorry, was that a question?
No.
That's good. So yeah, for some of you that are new, this might be new information, but for some of you that are perhaps used to or already started to kind of dabble or play with crystals, some of this might be a bit of a recap for you. But as I've sort of already mentioned, that crystals are, you know, believed to possess the energy and healing properties, which has been a kind of alternative medicine and been in spiritual practices with our ancestors for years and years and years. And I think sometimes it's really nice to know the history of crystals and where they came from. I'm quite particular where I source my crystals from, because there can be a lot of unethical kind of practices in how they're sourced. So the lady that I get them from, she knows that crystal's journey from where it's been mined all the way to when it kind of arrives in her hand. She kind of knows the people that, you know, they'll be walking for sort of 3 days through jungles, Amazons, the forest, like it can be really, really tough, strenuous practice for them to go and get them. So it is important to know where our source of crystals has come from and is it ethical. But equally, it's kind of learning about the energy of that land and that space that it's come from, kind of our Mother Earth that she's held for us. So which leads me kind of into kind of the energy vibration, and that they'll resonate at sort of different frequencies, which then of course influences the energy around them. And that's why we talk about different crystals having different properties because of their energy, which of course then is going into your healing properties. And we'll get into a bit more of kind of the different crystals that can kind of help us and what their properties are. Like your clear quartz is often known as your master healer, because it's a crystal that she just will really amplify anything you're already offering. So if I was to use your clear quartz with a rose quartz, it would really amplify the fact that rose quartz is such a love and compassionate, a very gentle stone. It's going to amplify if I was to use them together. Some of you, if you've played around with them, and again, if you're familiar with kind of chakras in your horse, chakras in ourself, again, we can use crystals to help us get back in alignment. Or as I was saying earlier about, you know, maybe placing it over your womb to connect and bring your body back into alignment. And different crystals, again, there's some crystals that are really grounding, that are going to be great for your root chakra. If you're feeling unsettled and feeling like you can't quite ground yourself to earth, there can be lovely crystals that will give you that lovely comfort, earthy, grounding feeling. And equally, there's going to be crystals, and actually I thought I'd share with you because it's one of my favorite pieces that I have in my house. She's quite a big beauty, and this is apophyllite, and she is wonderful to, like, if you want to meditate and go super high, you know, she will whoosh you up there. And I've had it where I've been leading meditations in circle, and fortunately it was my friend that was sat quite close to it, and I could feel as I was leading, I was like, oh, she's like rocketed. She has gone off to the higher planes in a rocket. And she said when she came back, she was like, mate, that was wild. So that, you know, when you meditate, it's really important to be mindful. And like, that was a lesson to me of, I hadn't clocked that she was like, because I have it on the floor by a house plant in the house, and I hadn't clocked that she was sat close enough to it that she was gonna get on a spaceship and have a great trip to, you know. So, but yeah, she loved it and it was fine. But it was a lesson to me of like being mindful of what's around us, you know, and what we are when we're using crystals. So yeah, apophyllite is wonderful for kind of, you know, raising and that connecting us to above, whereas something like you know, you kind of onyx or your tourmaline, very earthy, very grounding, great for your root chakra, is going to keep you nice and grounded. And I think, yeah, I've just spoken a bit about the kind of meditation and focus that I've got next on there. I mentioned to you guys about protection earlier on, about how I will use it for like in my mare's stable. I also have quite a few black tourmaline grids around.